Hello everyone, welcome back to Boston Movie Reviews to share where I reviews up that's mostly pretty good and maybe one of the best movies of all time, or a film that absolutely sucks and should remain in the depths of hell. Now, um, last week we discussed, I believe it was Aliens, and it's one of my favorite movies of all time. And obviously now, since we're getting closer to Halloween, it's obviously, at the time I'm recording this, it's October 29th. Um, and this will be uploaded by the 30th, so. And the reason why I'm saying the 30th is because technically, the film I'm discussing today isn't technically a Halloween movie. It is, but it isn't. But before we get on to that, I should address the elephant in the room. Um, then you may notice that yes, obviously I do have a really big scratch on my fucking face. It you know it really hurts. So I've just to clarify, I was literally delivering the fucking dinner in my kitchen, and I fucking tripped over a chair and it scratched the hell of it on the table. So, um, before I started getting fucking comments, saying like, "Oh, how'd you get that?" That's why, or that's how I should say. Um, so okay, um, so yeah, I just want to clarify that right now. And now the reason why I'm saying that, so I know technically I did say I was going to be discussing Halloween 3 and 4. And yeah, that's the movie I'm reviewing today. Is Halloween 3: Season of the Witch. This is not a typical Halloween movie. This is the oddball out of the whole franchise. And the reason why I'm saying that, I'll say as the review goes on. But suffice to say that I didn't want this. Well, I shouldn't say I didn't want this. I just wanted to kind of ease the gap out between the Halloween 3 review and the Halloween 4 review. So, just kind of wanted to spread that out a bit. So that's why. This is being uploaded on the 30th, and then Halloween 4 is going up on the 31st. So, yeah. Um, so, yeah. Um, today we're going to be reviewing and discussing the Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, which was released on October 22nd of 1982, just 1 year after the second film was released. Now, to give, um, not only my backstory with the film, but a general rundown of why the film came to what it eventually was released as. So we all know that at the end of Halloween 2, Michael Myers, Jesus, was killed off at the time because there was only the first film, and then this one came out, and they were like, okay, well Michael Myers is dead. What's the point of doing these anymore? And so, John Carpenter, they asked John Carpenter, "Hey, would you like to make another one?" And he's like, "Sure, but not in the Michael Myers series." The plan he had was that he actually wanted to make an anthology series where they would make one Halloween film every single year, with a new story, new cast, and kind of just it would all be set around Halloween each year. Which we would probably have over 40 or 50 Halloween movies. That's the route that he went. Obviously, that did not turn out to be the case because, I'll just mention it right now. Even though this film had the biggest budget out of the first three films at a budget of $2.5 million, and domestically it made about 14.4 million, which is really successful. Worldwide it has not been confirmed yet, but this has, I believe, it was the lowest grossing Halloween film up to that point. And the reviews on it were not that good at all. So this film is, even though it did successful in America, um, this is considered a flop. Um, and so that's why in 6 years later, they released Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. Um, but they went and attempted to do this whole anthology thing, and so that's why there is, you can clearly tell by the cover arts between all three of these. You have, Halloween 2, Michael Myers at the Memorial Hospital. Halloween 3, you have these kids in these weird looking Halloween masks with a silver shamrock building in the background. And then all of a sudden with part 4, we get Michael Myers again. Because, people didn't really like the fact that they weren't going to continue the Michael Myers story. So they lashed out, openly criticized the film for simply for the fact that it did not have Michael Myers in it. And even still, to this day, people still complain about the fact that there's no Michael Myers in this film. And so they just bash it for no reason, just because it didn't continue the storyline from Halloween 1 and 2. Which is kind of a shame because, I feel like that this film should be given, you know, shouldn't be, criticized just because of the fact that it didn't continue the story from the first two. Um, we saw that with, the Friday the 13th series. Well, no, actually more the Elm Street series at this point. Um, well, no, as the 80s continued on after this film came out, we saw that, really, yeah, Freddy would just be, kind of going along with the same story, and as the series went on, it kind of just got worse and worse. Even the Halloween series, I mean, granted, in my opinion, Halloween 4 was still a good film. Halloween 5, wasn't that good. Halloween 6 was even worse. And so they kind of, had to reboot it with H2O. And then that had its sequel with Resurrection, was shit. And then they tried to actually reboot it in 2007 with the Rob Zombie films. Those were shit. And then finally now we have it back with a fucking good Michael Myers film in 2018, and then now 2021 with Halloween Kills. But anyway, I'm getting off track here. I need to start talking about Halloween 3. Um, this was directed by Tommy Lee Wallace, who before this he worked on the first Halloween film as I believe a stunt coordinator or a natural stuntman. Um, also he actually played because technically there were 4 actors for the first film to play Michael Myers. There was Nick Castle, who played the majority of Michael Myers throughout the entire film. We had the one shot where Michael has the mask taken off. That was a different actor. I forgot who that was. We had Tommy Lee Wallace, who did all like where Michael Myers is breaking through like the door, to get to the kitchen, and then the door of the closet. That was all Tommy Lee Wallace. And then we also have the young Michael Myers. Um, so yeah, that's what Tommy Lee Wallace did with the first film. I don't know about the second film or not, if he did anything on that. I know that John Carpenter initially asked him to direct Halloween 2, but he declined, and so that went to Rick Rosenthal. But then Tommy Lee Wallace eventually got his shot with Halloween 3. Now, if you guys are fans of my channel, you guys may remember that all the way back to the second episode of the show, he was the director of the 1990 miniseries version of Stephen King's It. And I think he might have directed a couple more films after that, but really, he's most known for directing Halloween 3 and the 1990 version of It. So, it's, really only 2 well-known credits to your name, and you're kind of screwed. um, but, enough, well, my history with the film, really, I always just saw it as, the black sheep of the series. You had the Fantastic 1 and 2, and then you all of a sudden had this film where it had nothing to do with the original 2. And so, like I said earlier, I was going along with the crowd. I just bashed it because it wasn't a Michael Myers film. And then, I liked Halloween 4, didn't really care for Halloween 5, hated 6, but I would always overlook this one. And obviously, continuing on with the Halloween series, I had to watch it. And, obviously watching it, not obviously on the 4K, but on the 4K Blu-ray, like the 4K Blu-ray transfer. Um, I, had to sit down and watch it. So I paid my full attention to it, and you know, just try to concentrate on it and see if I can make an opinion out for myself instead of just saying, "Oh, I don't like it because it doesn't have Michael Myers in it." No, I was hoping that I wasn't gonna be that. That wasn't gonna be my review. Just be like, "Oh, I don't like this film because it has Michael Myers in it." But anyway, we'll get on to my opinions later. But for now, let's get on with the story. So, a hospital emergency room doctor, Daniel Childs, played by the fantastic B movie actor Tom Atkins, and Ellie Grimbridge, played by Stacey Neilkin, the daughter of a murdered victim, uncover a terrible plot by small-time mask maker Connell Cochran, played by the fantastic Daniel Hurley, a madman who's planning a Halloween mass murder utilizing an ancient Celtic ritual. The ritual involves a boulder stolen from Stonehenge, the use of a silver shamrock mask, and a triggering device contained in a television commercial, all designed to kill the world's children. Now, you can already tell me just by saying that it has nothing to do with the originals. Holiday 1 is about this, killer who murdered his sister when he was a young boy. Several years later, escaped out of the Smithsgrove Sanatorium and went on a mass killing spree, which eventually leads into Halloween 2, where he goes to the Memorial Hospital, kills several more people in the hunt to hunt down Lori, which we figure out is his sister. And then in this film, it's about this, you know, this Cochrane guy who's making these, pumpkin, the pumpkin witch and skeleton masks, which is always on the cover right here, to use in a mass murder of all the world's children just because he wants to return Halloween back to its original form. I'm sorry, what? So yeah, you can see how people initially were like, I don't like this at all. But um, I, as people have gone on, you still have those people, which again, as I mentioned earlier, be like, no, I don't like it because it doesn't have Michael Myers in it. But slowly overall, over the years, it's been getting a cult following as it's actually not that bad of a movie. Like if you actually watch it, there's actually a lot of good points about it. So, um, am I in that boat where you guys have to figure it out at the end of this review? So, you know, I kind of wish that they at least, with these characters in this film, they kind of made mention of them in future possible like the Michael Myers films, but they never bring them back up again, um, which is kind of disappointing until the 2018 film, which I'll discuss a little bit later in this film or in this review. But I'll go kind of more into depth when I discuss the 2018 film and possibly Halloween Kills whenever I review that. Um, but anyway, let's go over the cast. So we have the legendary Tom Atkins as Dr. Daniel Childs, or Dan, as he's most called in the film. He is the central star of the film. Um, I've heard of Tom Atkins before. In surprisingly, most of the work I've heard him in was after Halloween 2 or Halloween 3. Sorry. Um, I only heard in terms of work before Halloween 3. I've only heard about him once, and that was in ironically another John Carpenter feature, Escape from New York, which I actually do have in my collection. Um, and then after this, he would star in Night of the Creeps, along in the first Maniac Cop film. Um, so he's a very very he's a very popular B movie actor because I don't really remember him a lot from like a major stuff except for Halloween 3. Um, but he actually does really good in this role as a man just put into a situation where he doesn't even really know what the hell's going on. Um, I do say though the opening to this film is um, very weird. We obviously start with the very weird opening title sequence where um, unlike the first two films where um it kind of has the pumpkin and all of a sudden like the title shows up in that classic Halloween kind of font. This film it kind of just opens up with the Universal logo, and then all of a sudden like you see this like you see like like some kind of image being made in like a television. All of a sudden it's like just in generic text like, oh yeah, Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. Um, and then we eventually see the TV eventually makes one of these pumpkins that you actually see on the televisions right here. And then it just cuts to this man like running through this parking lot trying to escape these men in these suits. Like these businessmen that are trying to catch him for some reason. Um he this man goes to this gas station, and the gas station attendee takes him to the hospital where we meet Tom Atkins' character. Um or Actually, I've been pronouncing his last name wrong this entire time. It's Chalice. I just remembered. Where we find Dan Chalice. They look, take care of him briefly, and then all of a sudden, the businessman all of a sudden shows up out of nowhere, and in a very kind of weird death, grabs his, puts his mouth over, puts his hand over his mouth, grabs his nose, and kind of just pulls his skull into. Okay. And then goes out into the parking lot, gets in his car, pours gasoline on himself, and blows himself up? Okay, then. It's like literally one of the most weirdest, first like 5-10 minutes of a film I've ever seen. Like literally, if you've like watched this film for the first time, like me, and you see that sequence, you're just like, what the actual hell is going on here? And then as the story plays out, we eventually meet the daughter of this man, who is Ellie Grimbridge, who is played by Stacey Nelkin. She does great with the role. They, I'm actually surprised that I thought that they would go um to the town where Silver Shamrock, where the main the main mass production is for these masks. But surprisingly, it's only like 20 minutes into the film, if even. And I'm like, damn, that's like fast. And I'm like, well, how long is this film? And it's only just under 100 minutes. And I'm like, okay, that kind of makes sense. But I thought this film would at least be a little bit longer, because I believe, let me check the running time. But yeah, it's kind of just um a little bit weird that because I thought that this film would at least be a little bit longer, but surprisingly no. Um so um yeah, but yeah, they go to Santa Mira, where these masks are supposedly made, and then they start doing an investigation. Um so yeah, I was like, damn, this movie's moving quick. Um and then um they meet the other kind of main characters that we'll meet, that we'll see, kind of along the way. We have oh, I guess before I go too far into it, we have Nancy Keys, who before this played a role in the first Halloween film as one of Laurie's friends, in The Fog as the mayor's assistant, and in Halloween 2 as the dead corpse of Laurie's friend. But in this film, she plays Linda Chalice, who is the obviously the wife to Dan. Um, but obviously, when we get to Santa Mira, we have Buddy Kiefer, as played by Ralph Straight, um, along with his wife Betty, played by Jaden Bardo, and their son, little Buddy. Yes, that's actually his name, played by Brad Scatcherd. So sorry if I butchered any of your guys' names. Um, and then there's one other person that shows up when they're going to sign into the motel. I forgot what her name is, but she kind of actually plays a key role in one of the major scenes that kind of sets Dan and Ellie off to go and actually try and investigate um the uh the Silver Shamrock building, where um while Dan and Ellie are having their kind of raunchy sex sequence, even though Dan is married. I This other woman that we meet that isn't a part of the family that I just mentioned, uh she is about to go to bed and sees that the her mask has a because the mask are, I'm just gonna take the pumpkin for example. They obviously have, it's obviously the mask, but on the back is a silver shamrock badge, and the badge falls out of her mask, and you see that there's a little chip inside, like a little like microchip, like a little board, like micro board, like computer board, I should say. And she's like, "What the fuck?" And so she grabs it. And she grabs like I don't know. It's definitely not like a screwdriver that she just had in her hair, but it's like some kind of like hair, styling thing. I forgot what the name is. But yeah, she takes that out and starts like, fiddling it, and all of a sudden you see this fucking beam of light just hit her in the mouth, and then after it cuts to Dan and Ellie still doing that, it cuts back to her, and you just see that her mouth is kind of just like, has been like exploded like outwards, and her like eyes are bloodshot red. And I've always thought, because I've seen the like the old Blu-ray transfers, I always just thought that um like when after like when she takes her hands away from her face, that her eyes were just red and there's like no pupils. But surprisingly, in this 4K transfer, I actually just now noticed that there's actually the pupil still there, and it's like all like the white of the eyes are just like bloodshot, like red, like blood red. And I'm like, wow, I never noticed that because like the picture transfer on the old Blu-rays was so dark. Like it just had like kind of like a dark blue kind of tint to it. Whereas this one is like obviously like a new 4K skin, obviously, so it's like how it probably would have looked like in the theaters. Um, but and then so you're just like, what the actual fuck is going on with these masks? And then after a little while, Dan and Ellie go inside and get a tour of the facility along with the Kirkers family. Um, because apparently Buddy um is like getting like a really big shipment of the masks so that he can sell them. And so he's provided a tour by the head of Silver Shamrock, Colonel Cochran, played by the fantastic again Dana Hurley, who's an Irish actor who after this would go on to play the alien navigator in The Last Starfighter, which ironically is directed by Nick Castle, who played Michael Myers in the first one. But anyway, yeah, so he started in The Last Starfighter and obviously would go on to play the CEO of OCP in the first two RoboCop films. But anyway, I'm getting off track here. So yeah, they get a tour of the facility. Um, but then after they see some real shady shit going on, Dan and Ellie are like, okay, no, fuck this. We're leaving, and we're gonna call the police, and we're gonna have them do an investigation here. And when Dan goes off to tell one of the morgue people there, who he's in cahoots with again because he's just a fucking ladies' man apparently. Ellie somehow gets captured, um, and Dan infiltrates the facility and has a little skirmish with one of the assassins, which is those people in the business suits, um, which is actually played by Dick Warlock, who played Michael Myers in Halloween 2. But yeah, after he kills the Dick Warlock assassin, he gets taken to shown what's actually going on. And we've spoilers here for the ending, or for like the last like third if you haven't seen this film. Um it's shown earlier in the film before the guy shows up at the gas station, that one of the stones from Stonehenge has been stolen for about I think they might have said 2 months or 9 months. I forgot what the amount of time it was. Um, but yeah, there was a news report saying like, oh yeah, there was a stone from Stonehenge that was stolen, and we still haven't found the culprit yet. And in this scene, we finally get to see who was the one who stole it when we see the stone in the facility when Cochran basically explains it to him that, or actually no, he shows the family getting basically killed off. Uh, in probably actually the most like the most gory scene or death in the entire film, where surprisingly there's actually not like literally that much blood. I mean, yeah, there's some like weird gory bits. Like I said, with the woman's face, like the woman's mouth like exploded outwards, but there's no like actual like blood. So and yet this film's very rated R. Um, the only kind of blood that we actually see is from the android, the Dick Warlock android, when basically Tom Atkins punches it in the stomach and just like rips out the circuitry, and you just see it like kind of foaming out of the mouth, which I believe was actually orange juice. So little tidbit right there. Um, but anyway, basically after Dan witnesses the Kerfer family basically getting killed off. Which the child is basically the plan is, I'll just say it right now. Basically Cochran's plan is, like I said earlier, was to get all the world's children to have these masks on. Like the pumpkin, the witch, and the skeleton. Or actually, no, the pumpkin's called the jack o' lantern mask. But anyway, basically, yeah, he's trying to get these masks, all over the world, so that when around at 9 p.m. On the dot on Halloween, uh, he's gonna play this commercial where basically he's gonna kill all the world's children with those microchips, along with a little fragment of literally like a tiny like microscope level fragment of the stone from Stonehenge, so that it would kill all the world's children and basically return Halloween to what it originally was. Um, Obviously, Dan tries to stop it and almost successfully does. And the reason why I say almost is I'll explain it in a little bit. But before this, before we see the Crypto family get murdered or get killed, we see Ellie get captured, and he goes and rescues her, and they blow up the facility, basically kill Cochran, not directly, obviously. Which, by the way, he has a really weird death sequence where where Dan kind of pours all the chips basically onto where the computer consoles are, and kills all the workers there, and kind of makes this like energy circle around there, and it hits the energy from that along with the energy from the stone hits Cochran and kind of just evaporates kind of in like a burst of light, and then all of a sudden the stone starts exploding. He rescues Ellie, they escape Santa Mira, and then all of a sudden, you see Ellie start attacking Dan, and they crash the car, and you see the arm kind of still on like the door as she is like on the ground, and you basically figure out very quickly that she's an android. Now, there hasn't been that many fan theories, but people have still been discussing like what happened to Ellie during the course of when she's captured up until before Dan rescues her. And the one I agree with is that they capture her, and they like basically right after they show her to Dan, and show Dan the Cooper family being murdered, and they lock Dan in the room. She gets technically killed off and gets made into one of the androids. Um so so that explains why she starts attacking Dan at the end, because we see, obviously, we see the arm dislocated, and you see like all like the android, and then she stands up, and you see like the little like like all like the mechanical parts of the arm like kind of twitching. She's like, oh my god, and he decapitates her, and you're like, oh, it's over. And he gets in the car, and all of a sudden it's like, oh fuck, the hands starting to attack me now, trying to choke him out. He throws that away, and is like, oh man, all right, well, better get back in the car. And all of a sudden, oh the fuck, the head, this body is showing up, and he's like, okay, fuck, I don't care, I'm running. And then he runs over to the gas station that we saw at the beginning of the film, and with the same attendee there, and um basically calls the news station, or like I believe it's the TV station, and he's like, you got to turn it off now, like there's no more time. They get the first channel off and the second channel off, but they don't get the third one off. And he's like, come on, man, there's no more time. Stop it. Stop it. And he keeps on going and going and going. Um, and then he just yells, stop it. And you hear this like weird echo, and cut to black, and the end credits roll. And so, that's kind of, that's where the film ends. So, a very, very different Halloween film from all the other ones. The biggest departure out of all of them. We obviously had the first two, and then we had this departure, and then we get the Thorn trilogy with 4, 5, and 6, and then we have H2O and Resurrection, which are in their own timeline. Um, and then we have the Rob Zombie ones, which they're in their own timeline, and then finally we have this 2018 timeline where it's 2018, and then now Halloween Kills. So it's like, oh god. Um, but I guess to go on to my favorite scenes. Um, I guess to really choose one. The one I can really remember the most, in terms of watching it for this review for the first time, really, compared to clips I've seen online and obviously seen the trailers, is really that end, the fight, like the ending, basically, where Dan shows up at the gas station and calls the station. He's like, "Come on, man, you gotta turn it off." Probably one of the most iconic scenes from the film. Um, um, and I feel like if they did continue with the whole anthology thing, I actually wouldn't mind seeing a sequel to this film where they kind of continue on basically right after it, and see the repercussions that Dan kind of gets from the events of this film. But hey, it's kind of a one film deal. Kind of works better like that, and really kind of it works out better like that. Um. So yeah. Fun facts. The first one is even though the film was a flop at the box office, like I said, even though it made 14.4 million, uh in total, it was the worst performing Halloween film at that point. Um, but um, there was a novelization that came out around the same time as the film, and surprisingly, that actually became the novelization became a bestseller and was apparently reissued 2 years later after the film came out. So that's kind of a little piece of kind of ironic that oh yeah, the film flopped, but the book it was a fucking bestseller right there. Um. Oh, I actually forgot to mention one more actor when I was going over the cast. Um, there's one scene where after the first night of Dan and Ellie staying in Santa Mira, uh, or actually no, it's right before like some of the more major stuff starts happening on the first night. Um, um, you you hear this announcer come on, and it's basically a curfew announcer. That curfew announcer was actually Jamie Lee Curtis. Um, So yeah, that's a little bit. That's a little kind of Easter egg right there. But also, not only she played the curfew announcer, but apparently when Dan tries to call outside of Santa Mira, and this is the other fun fact I have. The voice of the operator when Chalice tries to call out of Santa Mira is also Jamie Lee Curtis's voice. So it's like, wow, you had two different roles in this film, and none of them were visible. Okay then. And I now just realized how kind of wrong that sounds. Um, the music for this film, God, great transition. The music for this film was composed by both John Carpenter and Alan Howarth, who before this obviously did the score to Halloween 2 together. And I think their first collaboration might have been on the first film. I'm not exactly sure. On the first Halloween film, I mean. Um, it's a very interesting score, and I actually do really like it a lot. It's obviously it's not as good as the first two, but I really do enjoy this, yeah, the soundtrack a lot. There might be an expanded version of the soundtrack released with all the music in it, but I'm not exactly sure. I don't think there's an isolated track on this Blu-ray, so. And speaking of which, before we get on to the end card, might as well talk about this Blu-ray. I know I talked about all five of the Halloween 4Ks in the channel update that I did a few weeks ago. But might as well show it off since might as well. So yeah, here's the front with the new cover art of, like I said, the kids with the jack o' lantern, witch, and skeleton masks with the TVs in the background with not only the pumpkins, uh, but along with the Silver Shamrock logo, along with all the assassins, kind of just lined up. There's the spine. There's the back. This is a 2 disc set with the first disc is obviously the 4K disc. Uh, obviously including the 4K transfer. Uh, audio commentary with director Tommy Lee Wallace and another commentary with actor Tom Atkins. On the second disc, which is the Blu-ray, again with the same 4K scan, but obviously downscaled to about 10, to a Blu-ray quality. Same audio commentaries with Tommy Lee Wallace and Tom Atkins. We also have Standalone: The Making of Halloween 3, featuring the director, actors Tom Atkins and Nancy Nielsen, and stunt coordinator Dick Wallace, director of photography Dick Cundy, or Dean Cundy, sorry, and more. We also have Horror's Hallowed Grounds, revisiting the original shooting locations with hosts Sean Clark and Tommy Lee Wallace. Interview with makeup effects artist Tom Berman. We also have a still gallery, the theatrical trailer and teaser trailer, TV spots, and radio spots. Um, we obviously, since this is obviously a Scream Factory release, y'all can obviously, have this, fantastic, matte kind of hard box. But with the Blu-ray case, you can obviously have the old, the new cover along with the original kind of theatrical poster, and every single one of my Scream Factories always has this. So there's the front, the back, or the spine and the back. I always love this poster, by the way. Nothing can really match, the simplicity of the Halloween 1 box art, or this Halloween 2 one. But I always like this one with the weird face in the background and the kids with the mask walking through the red sky. That's kind of a cool thing. And we obviously have the 4K and Blu-ray discs right there. So yeah, final thoughts on the Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. Now, as I said earlier, when I watched this film, and this was the first time I fully watched it. I was hoping that I was going to be a part of the minority and be like, oh, I don't like it because he doesn't have Michael Myers in it. And I was genuinely surprised with how good it was. Obviously, it's not as good as the original, the original 2, or possibly H2O. And even I'll admit this right now, Halloween 4 is in my top 5. Shut up. But honestly, I would probably put this in my top 5. You know, it's something new with with the Halloween series, and I actually really like it for trying something new. But there still are problems with the film, so I'll give it a solid B. I do recommend this film, um, but um, if you're expecting this to be another Michael Myers romp after the first two, you're going to be massively disappointed. But if you know that this film is not associated with the Michael Myers series, and you're just going in for a fun story, a fun Halloween story, this could actually, be surprisingly entertaining, and you might actually enjoy it. So yeah, I'm gonna give this film a solid B. So anyway, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed my review of Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. Stay tuned for October 31st, where I'm going to be reviewing and discussing Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. You can click over here on my profile picture to go to my YouTube channel, or click down there at my username down there. Make sure to also hit that subscribe button and hit that bell icon to get notified when future videos are coming out. And click over here to watch the latest 2 videos. Also, make sure to follow me on my social media pages, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Those will be all down in the description below. Also, follow me on Twitch, because I also do some occasional live streams every once in a while. And that will be also down in the description below. So, yeah. So stay tuned for October 31st, where I'm going to be discussing Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. Live long and prosper. Ale.